The sun was sinking, casting long shadows across the quiet street, a golden hue spilling across the neighborhood like a soft blanket. The air was warm, infused with the scent of blooming jasmine and freshly cut grass, a fragrant reminder that summer was still holding on in its final days. I stood at the edge of my yard, my heart hammering in my chest, drawn by the gentle creaking of the swing on her porch. The sound was rhythmic, almost hypnotic, like an invitation to something I couldn't quite name, something that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. There she was, my neighbor, Claire Thompson, barefoot, her toes curling against the worn wooden planks of her porch, and her hair tied in a messy bun that swayed with the warm breeze, strands escaping to dance around her face. She wore an oversized sweater that slipped off one shoulder, exposing pale skin kissed by the sun, and I couldn't help but admire how effortlessly she carried herself, a mix of casual grace and unguarded beauty. I was 32, Nathan Blake, a web developer by trade, and yet in that moment, I felt like a boy again, caught in the gravity of her gaze, as if the world around us had faded into a soft blur. "Sit. I'm not done talking," she said, her voice low and inviting, threading through the air like the last notes of a song. The porch light flickered on, illuminating her face and casting a warm glow that accentuated the softness of her features. I could see the sincerity in her eyes, the way they sparkled with a mix of mischief and something deeper, a need, perhaps, that resonated with my own. I hesitated, the weight of my shoes suddenly feeling like lead, a tether to my reluctance as I stood on the threshold of her world. But she patted the seat beside her, a gesture that felt less like an invitation and more like a command, and I knew I had crossed the threshold, stepping into a space that felt simultaneously safe and perilous. I took a tentative step onto the porch, the wood creaking beneath my weight. "I didn't mean to intrude," I said, forcing a casual tone that belied the tension coiling in my stomach like a spring ready to snap. "Not an intrusion," she replied, leaning back in the swing, letting it sway slightly, as if we were caught in a quiet dance, a rhythm only we could hear. "Just a conversation." As I settled into the seat beside her, the air thickened with unspoken words, heavy with the weight of our lives. I could feel the warmth radiating from her, an almost electric connection that made it hard to breathe. Time seemed to stretch, the ordinary evening morphing into something monumental, something that would linger in my memory long after the sun dipped below the horizon. "Things have been rough at work," she said, her voice softening, each word deliberate and measured. "You know how it is." I nodded, my eyes locked onto hers, willing myself to remain calm. She was a project manager at a marketing firm, a few years older than me, and I had always admired her ability to juggle chaos with grace. It was a quality I respected, but now, as she spoke, I felt an urge to peel back the layers, to reveal the woman behind the professional facade. "Yeah, I get it," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "It's been a challenge lately." The moment lingered, a shared understanding hovering between us like the last remnants of daylight. "Have you thought about just walking away?" she asked suddenly, her gaze piercing mine with a clarity that caught me off guard. The question hung in the air, heavy with implication, and I felt the earth shift beneath my feet. "Walking away?" I echoed, my mind racing. "From work? That's a big step." "It is," she agreed, her tone contemplative. But there was an urgency in her eyes, as if she was inviting me to see beyond the confines of our daily routines. "But sometimes the weight just becomes too much. You have to decide what's worth carrying." I felt a nervous flutter in my stomach, her words resonating deep within me. The way she was looking at me, her eyes searching, made it clear she wasn't just talking about work. She was peeling back the layers, exposing the raw edges of our lives, and I could feel the vulnerability creeping in. "I don't know if I'm ready for that," I admitted, the honesty spilling out before I could second-guess myself. "Ready for what?" she pressed, leaning in just a little closer, the space between us diminishing, the air thickening with tension. "Ready to change everything?" I replied, my heart racing. "I mean, what if it goes wrong? What if it shatters everything I've built?" Her smile was soft, almost sad, as she reached out, brushing her fingers against my forearm. "What if it doesn't?" I swallowed hard, the air thick with tension, her touch igniting a spark that settled in my chest. There was a vulnerability in her gesture, a silent invitation to explore something that lay just beneath the surface, something that made my heart pound. The porch creaked again, a reminder of the risks we were both taking by simply sitting there, inches apart. I could feel the warmth of her skin through the fabric of my shirt, and the moment stretched, heavy with possibility. "Do you ever feel like you're just existing?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, as if she was afraid the world would overhear her confessions. "Like you're stuck in a loop, day after day?" I turned my head, searching her eyes, longing to connect on a deeper level. "All the time," I confessed, the admission spilling out as if it had been waiting for the right moment. "It's like I'm running in place, doing what I'm supposed to, but never really living." She nodded, her expression pensive, and I could see the flicker of recognition in her gaze. "I think that's why I wanted to talk, to break out of it even for a moment, to feel something real." The swing moved again, a gentle push that felt like an invitation to embrace the moment. I shifted slightly, our shoulders brushing, the contact sending a rush of warmth through me, igniting a yearning that had long been dormant. "Claire," I began, but the words caught in my throat. What was I trying to say? "Just sit with me," she said, her voice steady, grounding me in the chaos of my thoughts. "Let's just be here for a while, no expectations." I took a deep breath, letting the moment wash over me, the golden hour light bathing us in warmth, the world beyond fading into a soft blur. As we sat in silence, the air thickening with unspoken thoughts, I could feel the weight of her gaze on me, the way she was studying my face, searching for something I wasn't sure I could give. "What's your biggest fear?" she asked suddenly, breaking the stillness, her voice cutting through the haze of our shared silence. I blinked, caught off guard, the question striking a chord deep within me. "That I'll never be more than this?" I replied, my voice cracking slightly. The vulnerability felt like a chasm opening up between us. Just another face in the crowd, another cog in the machine. She leaned back, her brow furrowing slightly as she contemplated my words. "You don't give yourself enough credit?" she said, her voice firm yet gentle, as if she were trying to peel away the layers of doubt that surrounded me. "Maybe," I said, shrugging, the weight of my insecurities pressing down on me. "But it's hard to see a way out. Sometimes you have to take a leap," she said, and there was a fire in her eyes, a fierce determination that both frightened and excited me. "What about you?" I asked, suddenly curious, my own fears forcing me to confront hers. "What's your biggest fear?" Her expression shifted, a vulnerability creeping into her eyes, and for a moment, I felt like I was peering into her soul. "That I'll wake up one day and realize I've let life pass me by, that I've been so focused on what I'm supposed to do that I forget to actually live." The silence that followed felt heavy, laden with a shared understanding of the risks we both faced. The swing creaked again, a gentle reminder of the precariousness of our conversation, the tension building between us as we navigated uncharted territory. "Do you think we can change that?" I asked, my heart racing as I leaned a little closer, the space between us an electric current that threatened to bridge the gap. She looked at me, her gaze unwavering, and in that moment, I felt a connection that transcended words. "I think we have to try," she said, her voice a whisper, filled with both hope and trepidation. The porch creaked again, the swing gently rocking as if echoing our unsteady resolve. I could feel the tension building between us, the distance between our bodies shrinking, and I wondered if we were on the brink of crossing a line we couldn't uncross. My heart raced, caught in a whirlwind of confusion and desire. What if we get caught? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, the reality of our lives crashing back in. She smiled softly, the tension in her expression easing just a bit. Caught doing what? Talking? Caught feeling something we shouldn't? I replied, my heart pounding in my chest, the fear of the unknown pulling at me. Maybe we should embrace the risk, she said, her voice low and inviting, her eyes sparkling with mischief. What's life without a little danger? Her words hung in the air, and for a moment, I felt suspended in time, caught between hesitation and desire. The world around us faded, the soft light wrapping us in its embrace as I leaned closer, surrendering to the moment, the uncharted territory of our connection. Maybe you're right, I murmured, the warmth of her presence enveloping me. Her eyes sparkled with something unspoken, a challenge that ignited the air between us. I could feel her breath, warm and inviting, and the distance that had once felt so vast was now a fragile veil, ready to be torn away. But just as I felt the pull, a sudden shout from across the street jolted us back to reality. Hey, Claire, you coming over? It was her neighbor, Mark, calling from his yard, a jovial wave in his hand, oblivious to the fragile moment that had just unfolded. The spell shattered like glass, the reality of our lives crashing back in. Claire pulled back, her eyes widening as she looked toward the interruption, a mixture of frustration and disappointment flitting across her face. Just a minute, she called back, her voice tinged with irritation, as if she were trying to reclaim the moment that had slipped through her fingers. I could feel the heat creeping up my neck, the sudden awareness of what we had almost crossed. The swing swayed slowly, the moment stretching and fading like the last light of day, leaving behind a bittersweet ache. Sorry, I said, my voice low, the tension dissipating like smoke as the reality of our situation became apparent. I didn't mean to intrude. No, it's fine, she interrupted, her eyes narrowing slightly as she glanced back at Mark. Just life, you know? I nodded, the weight of our conversation still heavy in the air, but now tinged with uncertainty. Maybe we can talk more later? I suggested, my heart sinking slightly as the moment slipped away like sand through my fingers. She looked at me, her expression softening, a hint of the connection still lingering in her gaze. I'd like that, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, and I felt the warmth of her words wrap around me like a promise. As I stood to leave, the porch creaked beneath me, and I felt the loss of warmth where our bodies had touched, the electricity of the moment fading. I glanced back at her, her messy bun swaying slightly in the breeze, a soft smile playing on her lips, one that held a promise of more to come. Take care, Nathan, she said, her voice almost a whisper, and I felt the weight of her gaze following me as I stepped off the porch and back into the fading light, the shadows of the evening creeping in. The street felt different now, the world around me tinged with a sense of possibility and uncertainty. I walked back toward my house, the golden hour slipping away, leaving behind shadows in its wake. What had begun as a simple conversation had transformed into something more, a connection that felt both thrilling and dangerous. As I stepped inside my home, the door closing softly behind me, I knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The air felt charged, crackling with the unfulfilled potential of our conversation, and I realized that I was standing at the edge of something profound. The weight of my daily routine felt lighter, as if I had been granted a glimpse into a world where change was possible, where life could be more than just a series of tasks to complete. And so, as I made my way to the kitchen, pouring myself a glass of water to quench the thirst that had developed in the wake of our exchange, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was on the precipice of something new, something exhilarating. I thought about Claire, her laughter, her insights, and the way her presence lingered in the air, a promise of connection that beckoned me to step into the unknown. That night, as I lay in bed, staring up at the ceiling, the shadows dancing on the walls in the dim light. I replayed our conversation over and over in my mind. Each word, each glance, felt like a thread in a tapestry that was slowly beginning to take shape. A tapestry woven from the fabric of our shared fears, dreams, and desires. I could feel the excitement coursing through my veins, a thrilling anticipation of what was to come. And as I drifted off to sleep, I knew that the next time I saw Claire, the swing on her porch would creak with the weight of our untold stories, and I would be ready to embrace whatever came next, ready to explore the depths of our connection and the possibilities that lay ahead. In the quiet of the night, with the world outside slipping into slumber, I felt a sense of hope blossom in my chest, a quiet but fierce determination to break free from the ordinary. It was time to live, to feel, and to discover what it truly meant to be alive.